Welcome to the Geek Homeworld. I am your host, Ed, aka SavageTechman. We talk sci-fi, TV, movies, superheroes, and all from a geek perspective. You can find us on Blogger, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're everywhere. Join the Geek Homeworld. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an exciting episode of the Geek Homeworld. This is episode 106, and I have a special guest in studio here with me, returning to the podcast, Scott Schreiber.
Hey, how are you, Ed?
I'm doing relatively neato. How's the film industry treating you?
Excellent. Got a little downtime right now, so I'm gonna knock out some shows with you here. Gonna have some fun.
Yeah, we're gonna do this our way, like we always do it here, where we talk how we feel, and we're gonna talk about the top 10 films of 2018. And just to get a house cleaning out the way, this is episode 106, and we're on geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. You can go and like our Facebook page, Geek Homeworld. We also have a YouTube channel still under construction. One day I'm going to get the video capabilities in hand, but you can go there and hit that subscribe button if you'd like, and hit that subscribe / like whatever on Facebook and follow us there. And we're on Twitter at Geek Homeworld. Also, Scott was on my radio show, Savannah on Film.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
and we had a blast and all.
No, it was great talking about Savannah films. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so all the wonderful film industry going here through Savannah, Georgia. To everybody listening worldwide, thank you for listening. All the new listeners, everybody that's got us to 4 years and counting of this podcast, the Geek Homeworld podcast, and I'm enjoying my 10th year of podcasting. And
all right.
So excited.
And you've crossed over the century mark here.
I've crossed over, the decade and the century.
Yeah, what, 106 now, huh?
106. Oh, yeah, 106
Sorry,
episodes.
yes, not years, but
That's
number.
Dear. So, anywho, we're going to just jump right into it. We're going to start, since, Scott, you're my guest, we're going to start with the format of this. Do we need to lay any ground rules?
Well, we're just both going to go over our favorite films of the year. There's some overlap here, so we'll
start. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll start with my honorable mentions. We're both going to do top 10s. And first, I would like to say that this has been another great year in film. I mean, maybe due to these subscription services at these theaters, I got to see a lot of stuff, or a lot of films this year. And so I saw over 100 films this year, just a precursor to know that, like, how many films I'm basing this off of. I've seen everything.
You beat me on that record, almost doubled it. I had about 45 films that I was able to go see, and MoviePass was a big part of that. And then we know about how that imploded. And then thank you, AMC A-List.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to see 3 movies a week and repeat viewings of movies that I haven't done yet, but because I'm exploring a lot of film.
That was great. It kind of gave us more access. I saw so many things, so I feel very informed this year. But yeah, let's start off with honorable mentions.
Yeah. Well, before that, we're gonna do the honorable mentions, and just to let you know, the honorable mentions are in no particular order.
Yeah.
We've agreed on that. No. And then we're gonna do our individual top 10. Scott's gonna go first, and then I'll do my honorable mention, and then I'll do my top 10 from number 10 to number 1. 2018 was another record year box office wise. Attendance was, I think it was up slightly, which is an improvement, but in our city we've had several theaters closed down.
Yeah, which is disappointing, but
is very disappointing. And thank gosh for the ones that are still open, the ones that are thriving, and entertainment continues to change. And even though this is Geek Homeworld, we talk about other things besides geeky things, and my top 10 is going to surprise a few people. It's not as superhero heavy as you think.
Not as much in years past.
Not as much in in years past, and it's due to content, but it's due to, you know, your taste change a little bit, a person's taste evolve, and I still love my superhero films, and you'll see there's some well represented, and there's some you're going to be like, what? But I love surprises. So,
well, that's great too. Like part of why I like doing lists like this and is to get the word out on films that maybe you haven't seen or never even heard of. So,
and one last thing before you start. That's just somebody's horn going off. And you know what? It's, you know, what can I do? So it's still, yeah, you just pretend and keep moving on. But that is driving me crazy. That's not you, is it? That was you. Okay.
Yeah, that was my car.
Well, thanks.
Excellent. Sorry.
That's your way of telling me to move on.
It was.
Just hit your button to make your car alarm go off. I am not editing that out. This is recorded live, and that's the way it's going to be. And so what we're going to do with the show today on episode 106 here of Geek Homeworld, we're going to talk about just different types of films. Some of them are geeky. Some of them don't have a geek aspect to them, but they're us both working in the film industry. We have a little bit different taste, and I appreciate Scott being here, and you've agreed to do some Oscar blogging for us.
Yeah, like I've did last year, maybe the year before, or definitely last year. Yeah, absolutely.
And we had a very good response from that, and he's going to do very detailed. We've got some really great ideas for some top 10 episodes, and we're going to be looking at some more stuff. And without further ado, I do Scott's honorable mentions in no particular order.
No particular order. Basically, you know, when I was coming up with my top 10, I had 9 films that I was like, all right, these aren't, you know, these are locked. And then had to sleep on who was going to get in as my number 10. And really, there are about 10 films in the running. So the list from about 11 to 20 is my honorable mentions here, and we'll just go over these real quick. These are movies that you should go out and check out. There's Mary Poppins Returns. There's Tully. Tully, with a great script on that.
And who was in Tully again?
Charlize Theron. Great performance there. Just a unique script too. Cool little twist. Kind of came out earlier in the year that I don't think a lot of people saw. So, you know, one of those little gems that needs to be seen. Then we got Mary Queen of Scots, I thought was great. The 2 leading ladies there were fantastic. Roma was fantastic. Great camera work and incredible cinematography there.
An Oscar contender.
Yeah, and really it seems like that's the front runner for Best Picture right now, and I wouldn't be disappointed with that. It was beautifully shot and a great story. So, moving on there, I had Assassination Nation. This is something probably nobody saw. It's a very polarizing film.
Yeah, it was not on my list. I did not see it. And in all fairness, we're only putting things on there. We've seen pretty much every film, and you've seen more than I have, like we said, this year for 2018, but I'm not going to include anything that I have not watched because that would not be fair.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it, and you know, you can't put it on there if you don't, haven't seen it. So, and after that, I have A Simple Favor, which was fantastic, great story there. I really liked Jurassic World. Some people didn't, but I liked where they went with that story. The visual effects, again, amazing there. The Favorite, another great, costume period piece, just wickedly funny. The Old Man and the Gun, possibly Robert Redford's swan song, his last performance, from what, if you're to believe that. Another great little film that probably nobody saw. And Blind Spotting, another smaller film. Those round out my honorable mentions. Those are, lesser known films that really, really spoke to me. And so I'm happy to talk about those on another occasion, maybe on my blogs or something. But we'll go into more detail on these top 10 here.
All right. So, you want to do
it's time. Yeah, let's do it. I'll do my top 10. So number 10 for me is The Sisters Brothers, which that's kind of another rare little one that the script was so unique that it basically is a gold prospector's tale. Right. It's a Western with John C. Reilly, Joaquin Phoenix, Jake Gyllenhaal, Riz Ahmed. It's just a unique story because it takes you down this path and you think you're going one way and it goes a completely different way. The performance is great. The cinematography is great. French director who did Rust and Bone with Marion Cotillard. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
I am
but
not.
That's a great, this Sisters Brothers is great. It's funny. You know, and again, it takes those turns that I did not see, and it's truly unique film. Number 9, you'll be happy to see.
Yes.
My number 9 film is Avengers: Infinity War. I usually don't tend to not to put the Marvel movies this high. I mean, I have Guardians of the Galaxy one year pretty high.
Right.
But this movie, you know, as far as it's easily for me the best Marvel movie ever. I thought they did an amazing job bringing all the franchises together.
What, 18 movies, I think?
Yeah.
And
they did a great job, like keeping the visual consistency of, say, Guardians, and then they moved to the world of Doctor Strange, and it looks uniquely different, you know. And they were able to balance that, and I really thought that was cool. And of course, I imagine this will show up on your list, so we'll talk about this one a little bit more later.
I'll go into greater depth about
So we'll go on to number 8 of mine, and that is The Hate You Give, directed by George Tillman Jr.
Yeah, I did not see that, but you said it was a pretty powerful movie.
It's extremely powerful. I think that this movie is undeservedly not getting as much recognition as, say, BlacKkKlansman. I think that maybe BlacKkKlansman has Jordan Peele, Spike Lee, that name recognition that maybe is getting that one pushed a little more. But I thought what I loved about this film was it actually tried to offer solutions. It doesn't just say, here's the problem.
Right.
You know, it actually tries to dissect it, tries to dissect the psychology, it tries to offer, okay, what do we need to do to change?
Right.
And I don't think a lot of these movies think about that. They just say, here's the problem. This is messed up. We got to do something. And they don't offer any kind of answers. And this attempts to. And I think people need to watch it.
Because if you present a hypothesis, you need to present a conclusion.
I think so.
Yeah. You know, the logical thing.
But yeah, I think for that reason, I think it's amazing. It's like a timely story, and it tries to offer those solutions. The young lady, Amandla Stenberg, is her name. I have her in my top 5 for Best Actress of the Year. I think it's a crime she's not up for an Oscar.
Right.
She carries this movie, and she's a teenager, and she does an amazing job. She carries this film. The man who plays her father, Russell Hornsby, I can't place him like in other films I've seen him in, but he's fantastic as a supporting actor. I just think this movie should be getting more recognition.
Okay.
That said, moving on to number 7.
Yeah, and this is not to be confused with another film that has a similar title.
Right, and as much as you want me to have a solo on here, or Star Wars, or maybe not, I don't know. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And not Solo, I have Free Solo, which is an incredible documentary.
Okay. And what's that about?
It's about this one man's journey to climb the face of, I think is it in Yosemite? It's basically climb this rock face that nobody has ever climbed before without a net, you know, without ropes, without a net.
Wow.
And it's this interesting study of this man and what makes him tick, and like what makes a man, like what makes a person drawn to do that, like risk your life. Like think about what it takes to do that. You're climbing 45 minutes without a rope or anything.
I could watch the movie and just say I've seen it done.
Right? But it's amazing. And then, you add on top of that the amazing camera work that they did. They had these professional climbers with cameras right there with him. So they're on the side of the mountain. They've mounted cameras on the mountain. And it's really incredible and just like breathtaking to watch. You're climbing the rock with him. And it's just such an interesting story, psychological story too. Like what makes this man tick. So incredible movie. And I think, I think it's in IMAX this week. If, some of you can go catch it on IMAX, I'm sure that's the best way to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm surprising myself here. I usually throw in a documentary, but this year I've thrown in 2.
Yeah, and this next one, that you're about to talk about is tremendous.
Well, it's a groundbreaking film, and I don't know. I feel like it had to qualify because it got an LA and New York release, but it wasn't nominated for an Oscar for whatever reason. I do not understand. But we're talking about my number 6 film of the year is They Shall Not Grow Old, documentary directed by Peter Jackson.
Brilliant and blown away. Yeah, I'll talk about it later.
Yeah, again, okay. So that one shows up on Ed's top 10 as well. It's just the editing process, what they had to do to this 100-year-old footage. They added color. They
over a 4-year period.
They had to do all this manipulation, to correct the film before they could even colorize it, and all this. It's just amazing work that they put in, the editing, the visual effects, the 3D. Goodness, wasn't that incredible?
It was. When we went to the showing, we were talking about this before the show. We went to like the 4-something showing because there was only like one showing. It was like 4:30 and like a 7:30.
Limited, and it was in such high demand too.
And it was at the one of the AMC theaters, and they had one person working concession, and I've never seen a line like that for any movie. It was almost around the corner, and right until it goes straight to color, and that's a little spoiler because it starts out
It's all right. I mean,
it starts out more authentic in a different aspect ratio on the screen, and ours was messed up, and people were taking your 3D glasses on and off. Some people were taking their glasses off, like, oh gosh, am I not seeing well? I looked at my wife and I said, are you seeing what I'm seeing? She goes, yes. I said, good, my vision's okay. But in all seriousness, tremendous film.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that more as it sounds like that's in Ed's top 10.
Yeah, and I don't mean to step on you.
No, that's all right. We do have some overlap this year. We typically do. I think about half of our films overlap, I think. But
right, we did pretty good. Actually, I think 6 of them overlap.
Okay.
So,
which is great. We have,
alert.
I think that shows we have similar tastes, not exact tastes. There's some films that I don't agree with you on, and vice versa. Yeah. But we have some similar tastes there. And one of them is my number 5, I believe you have on your list as well, is another groundbreaking film this year, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I thought this would be a throwaway cartoon movie. I'm like,
right?
This was coming out. I was like, really? I guess they've really just given up at this point. And, they're just going to put a cartoon out, and I'll let you say how great this thing was.
No, it was. I thought the script itself was just great. The pacing was fantastic. It was always moving. You felt like they had the comic strip look and feel. They even made it feel like you were in 3D without it even being 3D. The background was fuzzy, so they had this.
It was effect. Like a panel, like comic book panels in there. And the storyline was so wonderful. Yeah, But one thing about like the visuals on it, I thought something was wrong. That I did not get to see it in 3D.
Yeah, me neither. But I just don't think you needed it. It felt like it was in 3D.
I don't even know if it really was in 3D. But you felt immersed in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you called it groundbreaking.
And it is
animation.
I think it is. I don't. I'm not an animation expert. From viewing past films, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it.
Right.
And they definitely merge different styles of animation in the same scenes. It's like you've got the Porky Pig, or Spider-Ham.
Normally I would say that was really ridiculous.
But you've got the noir, right? You've got the noir,
yes,
and then so you've got all these different aspects coming together. And I mean, how painstaking would that have been? And so, no, what a great movie. And we're not even talking about the overall message of the film,
right,
which is that anybody can be behind the mask, and that itself is
empowering.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it is an extremely important film. It's winning best animated film at every award show right now, and rightfully so.
And for a lot of people, there was Spider-Gwen, so you got kind of the demographics
across the board, even in
you
the
had,
after
Miles Morales. and the voice acting, everything about it was just spot on.
Great voices. You're right. I mean,
and the pacing, it paced so well. I mean,
yeah.
You said that, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it a little more. I thought we'll touch on the humor and everything of that, when we talk about it in Ed's top 10.
Yeah.
Another one that we agree on here, probably the movie that I could watch over and over and over and over.
And I love the fact that we finally have one. They've been getting better. This series that's over 20 years old,
which we're talking about, Mission Impossible. So my number 4 is Fallout, Mission Impossible. What an amazing film. Never have there been such incredible stunts captured on film, I don't believe.
And maybe I should wait until my mini rant.
Oh, that's fine. No, yeah, we'll hold your rant until your top 10
about that.
But yeah, like the stunts are incredible. The camera work, like this, it's like when you think about capturing all this on film, this is all planned.
Right.
So there's the choreography of the camera and the stunt people, and again, this is another movie. Pacing is very important for me. I don't want to fall asleep during a movie. Obviously nobody does.
Right. And I did.
But and there are plenty of ones that I'm like, this is so boring. I'll fall asleep because it's so slow. And it may be an important film. It may have a great message, but it's slow. I'm gonna, you're gonna lose me.
You had that eventual. It's like that sugar high at the beginning of the film, and then you have that little bit of where you almost fall asleep. Yeah. So you crash, and then it builds back up.
Yeah, pacing is so important, and this movie never let up. And again, it's like intense. I think I saw at least twice. I feel like I saw this movie 3 times in the theater, and I rarely do that.
Yeah, and I saw it twice, and I wanted to see it more, but this is the thing that broke Movie Pass. It was around that time, and so that discouraged me. That and Infinity War coming out and different things, but great film. So. Your number 3.
Number 3 here, I think, it's actually very strange that my list this year, I only have one film that's nominated for Best Picture among my top 10. Usually I kind of line up a little more with the Academy, but I think the Academy is kind of changing this year a little bit, adding a little more popular films and whatnot. But that, I have popular films in mind too. So it doesn't quite line up. But the one place where Best Picture nominee lines up here is my number 3 film, and that's A Star Is Born. And I know you didn't get a chance to see it.
I didn't get a chance. And I think it's back out in the theaters, just for limited release.
Yeah. And if you can, I'd suggest going to see it, especially from a sound design aspect.
Right.
This is in the world of live music. So and that speaks to me. I'm an avid concert goer. All my life, countless concerts. I don't know how many I've been to. So this whole aspect of live music and what it takes to be, a traveling,
a musician.
Yeah. And just this whole sacrifice. And it's a story about addiction. It's a story about mental health. There's so much to it. And yes, it's a remake. And I was hesitant because this is the 4th time they've made A Star Is Born.
Yeah,
and
people forget that they just think maybe Streisand, but
they've been spaced out enough.
Right?
Yeah, they've been spaced out enough because I think Streisand's was in the mid 70s. Maybe
I think it was. Yeah,
and so it's been 40 years since the last one. There was a Judy Garland one in the 50s, and I think the first one was in the 30s, and the one in the 30s was actually nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
But then there have been other iterations that weren't called A Star Is Born that are basically the same story of the young ingenue coming up and the old man, the older person fading. But still, that's why I was kind of skeptical. It's like formulaic for you.
Yeah, whatever that means.
But definitely. I was apprehensive about this film being what it could be, but the performances are so real, so emotional. Mainly Cooper and Elliot. I thought Lady Gaga was great, but she doesn't quite make my top 10 this year.
Well,
but go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, when you're talking about all the different aspects of it, the creative process, right?
Yeah.
You get to see that in the film.
Yes,
I
you
imagine.
do. Absolutely.
And so,
that's something. Yeah, absolutely. And
you're selling this film to me because I saw the trailer for so long.
Yeah.
That I think.
No. Yeah.
it kind of wore me down, and I was like, I really don't want to see this. Yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody, I was totally different with. I was on board the moment I heard about it, and And
well, no, and another great thing, we don't even touch on these songs. All these songs are original songs.
Yeah, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
No, yeah, he wrote some of these.
He's scary. He's scary talented is what I'm saying. Is that he can do all of that. He's one of those rare artists. And nobody knew he could sing and sing well.
Right, and
write songs.
To go back to the sound design aspect, right. All these performances are captured live. A lot of films still dub over later. But he went to Coachella, he went to the Glastonbury, he went to these big festivals and with Gaga and got these performances with these big crowds and and actually did it, in real life instead of dubbing in the studio, which, to me that elevates it even more.
Well, just to touch on, it was impressive what they did with CGI versus Queen. I mean, you see this more authentic than you see Bohemian Rhapsody from us talking. And I was impressed by the CGI, how they recreated Live Aid, but it feels, it's done so well. It feels so real.
Yeah.
And, I'll talk about that.
So spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, sorry.
But anyway, no, I think it's deserving of all its awards. Shallow will probably win Best Song at the Oscars. Gaga will get her moment there. I doubt she'll win Best Actress. And I don't think she quite deserves it. She's really good. She's really good in American Horror Story too. But I just don't see her as top 5. When you put her next to Glenn Close is not really a comparison. But I think it's an amazing movie. Sam Elliott is my #1 supporting actor of the year. That was very hard for me between a couple of people, but his performance is so incredible in this. And he's an icon in himself.
He is. He's
badass. I wanted sorry to go on a little long about this one, but I know it's not in your top 10, so I wanted to kind of talk a little more about it. But we will move on to my --
And the reason that it's good reason is I have not got to see it. I was seeing other films or working different things and that was just one I never got to.
Sure.
And maybe I still have a last chance to see it.
I haven't seen Bird Box. So I've seen 120 films this year, and I didn't see the one film everybody in the world saw. So
I know. I had to bend to social media pressure and see it because I was that one guy in the meme there that hadn't seen it. Everybody's talking about how great it is.
I'm still that guy. I need to see it.
But there's going to be some mention of that coming soon.
Okay.
So we're up to number 2.
Number 2 for me.
For 2018 for Scott.
And really, number 1 and 2, it was such a debate. It was so hard for me to pick number 1. And I went back and forth. But so both are deserving of my number 1. But maybe deep down inside, I didn't want to put a space movie as my number 1 movie every year because I love space movies.
I do too, and
But I'm talking about number 2 for me is Damien Chazelle's First Man, and what an amazing design of a film this is from a sound design standpoint, from a production design standpoint.
Everything
incredible. He puts you in the seat,
in the cockpit there.
He really puts you in the space shuttle or in the ship. And
well, if he puts you in the space shuttle, that's a problem.
Yeah, because
there's continuity here.
Yeah, they hadn't been invented or developed yet. But yes, he in the primitive spaceship, he really puts you in it. You're going up.
You feel it.
Everything.
And I did not see it I don't know if you saw it in IMAX.
I did.
You did. That had to have been incredible.
It was. It was.
That's one of those movies that you get so immersed in.
Yeah. That opening scene with the sound, when you're breaking, the sonic.
It's a beautiful achievement for that.
But and I think that Baby Goose, old Ryan Gosling's getting overlooked here this year. He's certainly in my top 5. He's such a subtle actor, and maybe that's why.
Well, this film is very kind of. It's kind of by the numbers, but I don't mean that in a bad way.
Sure.
It's low key, but it delivers on what it's supposed to deliver without. Thrills and a lot of CGI and stuff. It's
really about
CGI,
this very private, very stoic man who does not wear his emotions on his sleeve. It's about him dealing with tragedy.
And it's from his, his point of view. So it would be that way. It would be kind of the word I came up with, Spartan, and I mean that respectfully to the film. And,
I think from a sound design standpoint, production design, incredible. Claire Foy gives a great supporting role as Armstrong's wife. Again, they're both dealing with the loss of their child, and that's kind of at the crux of the movie, even though it's about space exploration and what it takes for these men to have the cojones to do this in the 50s and 60s where nothing was certain. Death was almost certain.
I think that we researched a little bit, or looked up online, when I say research, the part, and maybe I need to call spoiler alert on this, but where he leaves the little trinket, the little doll or whatever.
I don't mind.
It didn't take away. I was going to say it didn't take away from me where he put that. He dropped it into the crater on the moon or whatever.
Right, and I don't care if that didn't happen. It
doesn't take away from the film.
I think it makes the point that he was trying to make.
Right.
About this deeply personal, private man was ready to move on.
Yeah.
Was ready to address it because he never addressed it. He
just did his job like a good soldier.
So I think that's the point of the film, is that, okay, because he's at again, spoiler alerts, but he's ready to move on. He has that moment through the glass with his wife, and it's to me that was okay. I'm here. I'm present. I'm ready to deal with this. That's how I interpreted it. Other people may not have, but
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, it's an incredible achievement. And I want to say it's nominated for Best Picture. Correct?
It's not.
It's not.
No, and
that is a crying shame. Shame on you, voters.
No, I agree. Because if you're rewarding technical filmmaking, that gets in on that alone, and then you add in the whole heart aspect and how well I thought they told the story.
Oh, I feel a rant coming.
Well, no,
about political correctness and rewarding.
Well, I think that we do need to be clear about what we're voting on. Are we voting on merit? Or are we voting on social change and
because you and I both see the technical side of things,
which I get it. I agree that a film that can bring about social change should be recognized. I get that.
Right.
I just think that we need to be clear about what constitute merit too. It's like, what are we sacrificing? But in some cases, like I would argue more against a film like Bohemian Rhapsody than I would say Black Panther. I think Black Panther still deserves.
I'm breathing there.
No, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. It's not that I wouldn't.
And you
say,
have valid points on it.
Well, and I wouldn't say that it's not a good film. Again, I'm saying we're talking top 10 here. We're talking Best Picture. So that's where we get to. I'm
agreeing to disagree.
Are we talking? That's what I'm saying. When we talk Best Picture, what is the criteria? And it's different to other people, and we have to be okay with that. I'm definitely I get it. I get why. I don't agree with half of the films that are nominated for Best Picture this year. However, I understand why they are, and I get it. And I just feel like people have different criteria. I'm different from another voter. So
and these are just our opinions. This has no reflection on any cast or crew that have been behind these films. No. We respect all departments and what they all do to bring all these films to life, because it does take a village and a half to make some films.
It's so hard to make a good movie. And I'm not saying that Bohemian Rhapsody is not a good movie. I'm not saying that Black Panther is not a good movie. I'm saying that maybe they're not quite top 10, and we have to be a little more realistic about it instead of trying to get popular films in there. And I think that's kind of what happened. Was the Academy wanted this popular film category. but it didn't happen. It got
and
shut
they're
down.
trying for the inclusiveness.
So now, this year, I think it got combined. Okay, you're not going to give us our best popular film category. We're just going to combine it now with best picture. And so maybe it'll change. I don't know. I just kind of think it's a shame now we have gotten off on a rant. That films that are technically brilliant, no, it's cool. That technically brilliant films like First Man and They Shall Not Grow Old are getting overlooked, and it is what it is. Why do we only have to have 8? Also, you can have up to 10. Why can't we have If Beale Street Could Talk or
which I'm surprised, and I did not see that, but from the buzz I've heard about that, and you've seen it.
Yeah, and
I'm surprised it didn't.
Well, again, that one for me suffered a little bit from pacing, like we talked about. It was a little slow, but the cinematography is gorgeous. The script is beautiful. I mean, so well written. Based on the novel. Drawing a blank on the author's name right now. Dang it! But anyway, it's such a great piece of writing and great acting. Stephan James and Kiki Lane, Regina King. Regina King's probably going to win the Oscar for that.
She's awesome,
and
it's so good to see her.
So
flourishing.
why you can't honestly tell me that some of these films, you can't tell me Vice is a better movie than First Man, or If Beale Street Could Talk, or Mary Poppins Returns. These films that aren't nominated for Best Picture. But anyway, we haven't even gotten to my number 1.
Yeah, all that build up. Sorry.
No, it's cool. We've it's good to talk about that. I think that we have to keep in mind that there needs to still be technical merit.
I am in agreement. Yeah.
Okay, so technical merit. Number 1 film of the year.
For Scott, his number 1 film of 2018 is drumroll.
And this came out early in the year, and it took. I thought something may dethrone it, but nothing ever did. My number 1 film of the year is
First Man almost did.
It did. It almost did. I think
you said these are interchangeable.
Yeah, I think
because I was a little surprised today when we were compiling our list. You already had your stuff, and you had to wait on me to refine mine and refine it. But
right, you thought I was going to have First Man
as number 1,
and
so
but no, I had to stick to my guns. The best film of the year is A Quiet Place. Like, there's no film more unique. How rare it is to see what essentially is a family horror film.
Yeah, I went to see a horror film that reminded me. And this is complimentary when I say this, but one of my favorite horror type films is Signs by M. Night Shyamalan with Mel Gibson in it. Yeah. I love that movie because it's so Hitchcock-like. I don't like gore. I'm not big on aliens and stuff like that. There's a lot of illusion, yeah, but there's that anticipation. This reminded me of Signs, and without A Quiet Place, there'd be no Bird Box.
That's for sure, and
which was wonderful.
That's probably the main reason I haven't watched Bird Box, because I was just like, this just looks a little derivative of A Quiet Place, but still,
it is, and I got caught up in that Bird Box phenomenon, and I was like, I better check this out, and so I went to Netflix, and I enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Sandra Bullock, another great performance as always, and but yeah, A Quiet Place.
But yes, like when you talk about rewatchability, I could watch this again. It's another one where I can put it on and enjoy it over and over. It's so unique. Like, I remember being in the theater the first time, and people were so respectful. And like, when was the last time you've been in a theater and everybody's respectful? And like, but people were not rustling anything. They wanted to be quiet, and that was fantastic. They wanted to be immersed and really get the sense of this world. And you did. Krasinski did an incredible job directing this and creating this world and this family unit that you immediately, at least I did, immediately become attached to.
And Emily Blunt,
number 1 supporting actress for me this year. There's no better supporting performance for me, and it really is.
That bathtub scene
is iconic. It will be iconic. That image of her trying to give birth silently is iconic, and
I don't even know how that's possible.
But she's incredible. She gives. This was the year of Blunt for me. Like she's taking on the role of Mary Poppins, and
which fantastic job.
And for
Poppins
her,
Returns. Fantastic.
There are a couple of things about the Oscars that upset me as far as snubs and stuff. But Blunt not getting nominated for either role was really disappointing for me. I think she's the greatest thing out there.
And I think you touched on a good point. A Quiet Place came out earlier in the year.
Yes.
But of course Black Panther came out in February.
Sure.
Around the same time, roughly. That has a lot of...
It has a much bigger
social
impact.
That's carried it even a year later. And I'm not taking away from how important that film is, but for A Quiet Place... It was a quiet movie, no pun intended.
Well, it did so well, and like I was really hoping for it to maybe steal a couple of nominations. I think it's up for a sound nomination, but that's it.
It should definitely. The use of no sound or controlling sound, being a sound mixer, I understand, this is a sound mixer's movie. This should be every sound mixer's #1 movie for the year. Yeah. And we'll find out if it is for this sound mixer.
Yeah. Just unique, the incredible sound design. Like Blunt, I touched on being, the best supporting actress, but I have Millicent Simmons, the deaf daughter.
Yes.
She's #3 for me for supporting actress on the year because her performance is incredible as well. Just there's such great acting in that film,
right?
Especially from those two women, and I just wish that there was more recognition for this. I had #1 easily for me. I would put this on loop. I think that
I struggle with my list.
Well, I just feel like when we look, it's going to stand the test of time. Yeah. This film, and I really hope, and I hope, and I have faith in Krasinski that the sequel will be done well.
I'm worried about a sequel. When I heard there was a sequel, it almost feels like a movie that it could go horribly wrong if there were a sequel, if it's not true to it.
It depends, yeah. Well, it depends on what angle he goes with, too, because, from what I've heard, it's going to be in the same world, but you may not see the same family. So it could be, just a totally different story in the same world.
It could be looking at that experience. It kind of reminds me in a way, not to take anything away from A Quiet Place, but it reminds me a little bit of Walking Dead or the video game.
You're dealing with an apocalyptic event.
No, This Is Us. What's the PlayStation game? I want to say it's not This Is Us. That's a TV show.
This Is Us. Zombie
I can't think of that. Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I'm not
going to pretend to remember that because I don't. But you can see connections.
Far Cry. What are you talking about?
It's not Far Cry. It's the
It's okay.
It's like a post-apocalyptic zombie-ish thing.
This Is Us.
Yeah, but it's kind of looking outside of the whole Walking Dead, core. But it's different. Quiet Place is another level than Walking Dead, and I'm not trying to compare the two. So don't hate me for that. But A Quiet Place, your #1 film of 2018.
Yes, sir.
And that is hard to argue with.
All right.
So let the arguments begin. So we're just moving on here. This episode's we're just checking time. We're running a little bit longer than we normally would, but we got to get this done, and it's hard to put this into 30 minutes. So this will be a little bit longer episode, and I haven't been able to really put out as many as I want to. So, it's not about quantity; it's about quality, and so we're trying to give you quality here today. And in no particular order, these are my honorable mentions. Mary Poppins Returns.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Beautiful. I think the soundtrack for that.
It should win best score. What they did to capture the essence of the original. What a tall task.
Yeah, and to get that nod from the original Mary Poppins guys that put that sound
easily the best cameo of the year.
Dick Van Dyke.
Yep.
Yeah. what's her name?
Angela Lansbury was in it as well.
No, that wasn't in there. Mary Poppins herself.
Oh, Julie Andrews.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why she didn't.
It wouldn't have worked.
And it did, and
if
it
you
didn't,
have her
and much
show
respect for her. Yeah, she didn't need to show up in the film. It didn't take away the fact that she wasn't there. And it's rare, and you may have touched on this already, but I remember saying that it's rare that I see a film that captured the spirit of the original. And how many years away are we from the original Mary Poppins?
About 50.
About 50 years, which that's impressive. And costume design, I can see. They should win for some of that. It may go to something else, but
And then even the old school animation, like they went back,
beautiful,
and they went back and found retired animators because nobody does that type of animation anymore,
and it works.
It's so great,
and it's believable, and it's fun, and there's a sad song, and I don't remember the songs now, but the husband singing the song.
Yeah, I think that's the one up for an Oscar.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, it almost brings you to tears. And then there's just some fun songs there, and everything works about it.
Light, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
And wait, that's not 30. We're good. We didn't use 30 seconds. We're good, right? We don't have to pay for it.
Yeah. Now, and these are, like I said, no particular order. Honorable mention, probably one of the films that I laughed at the most, and it was a Tyler Perry film, which I did not know going in. I didn't do my research on it. But Tiffany Haddish and Nobody's Fool. Oh my! From the moment I saw that trailer, I was like, I am waiting for that, because the lady that was in it, I forget her name all the time. That was her sister. She was in College Night with Kevin Hart, which was fun. It was a good movie. This was far much better. I saw this movie at least twice, and the second time it wasn't as funny because I kind of already knew the gags, but it was raunchy as hell, as all get out. But Tiffany Haddish, every scene she was in, stole it.
I will say, it's not as high on my list as it is for you, but I will say that Tyler Perry did the right thing by just letting Tiffany Haddish go.
It's like having Robin Williams and saying, here's Aladdin.
He's like, okay,
y'all hit record and let me do my stuff.
We'll make this R-rated. Just let loose,
and
Tiffany.
It worked. It worked on so many levels, and there was heartwarming parts of it, and it was hard for me not to put this in my top 10. So that's really a struggle for me. And kudos to Tyler Perry, kudos to the whole cast, and my girl Tiffany Haddish. You are so on point about things, and it's just incredibly funny. My next honorable mention, and you were glad when I included this in an honorable mention. This could have almost made my top 10. Well, any of my honorable mentions could have. Searching. And I forgot the gentleman. He was in Star Trek.
His name's John Cho.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. This is a unique movie. I thought it was cool that you mentioned this one. Not quite in my top 20, but unique in that it used nothing but computer screens and phone screens and you know.
And I like the technology aspect of it, and it worked. It didn't detract from the film. It felt like a fresh new way, and it had a twist in it. And of course, my wife she always catches the twist before I do. I'm so involved in it that I don't. Sometimes I get blinders, and I'm like, well, where? And I went 2 or 3 different ways of who I thought.
I know. I can't believe Grace Adler. I mean, geesh.
And it was so interesting. There was so much she put into that plan to make that work. And if you haven't, no pun intended, but you should search this film out. Searching is really worth your time, and check it out. Number 4, and these are, like I said, no particular order. Something for a franchise, and nothing against Michael Bay. I love Michael Bay. He's brilliant in action, but the last couple Transformer movies have been really horrible. Nothing against Mark Wahlberg. I like the introduction of him into the series, but the problem with, as some people call Bayformers, is the fact that they don't focus enough on the Autobots, the Decepticons and, Optimus Prime. And
so we're talking about Bumblebee, right?
We're talking about Bumblebee. Yeah. That was the long prelude to saying Bumblebee. It escapes me right now who the screenwriter was, but it was a female. And I thought she brought a different perspective to it. There's a little love story in there, a coming of age kind of love story that,
but
a budding.
But it was also smartly not like the main thing. And even at the end, she's like, she smacks his hand away.
And Michael Bay, I know he had a part in this, and I'm not dissing Michael Bay. I would watch a Transformers movie, but there's so much fatigue that's built up. And if you look at the box office, it's been steadily declining.
They that franchise definitely lost their way. So this reboot to go to a prequel
felt fresh.
Have a young female lead, competent female lead in Haley Steinfeld.
When we talk about social justice warriors, as they're kind of referred to in the sphere of things, and forcing diversity and forcing females to the front of things, don't get me wrong, I am not against any of that, but I don't want the story to suffer just because so we can have a female lead. If it calls for a female lead, if a female can do it, by all means, I'm behind you 120%. I've said that repeatedly. And the young lady in this film, she was smart. She did, it felt fresh. Everything about this felt fresh, and it wasn't everything I wanted it to be, but it surprised me.
Like John Cena, okay. Yeah, his stuff he had some terrible
Yeah, there were some things about it, they just happen. Bumblebee happens to crash, there.
Yes, that was one of my
a little convenient, you said.
One of my problems with the plot there, but I enjoyed the film, and it was definitely better than the last, 5 or 6 Transformers.
Yeah,
so.
it easily. And I came out of it saying, wow, this felt so fresh to me. It fit, they had me with the 80s music. I was humming along.
Yeah, the soundtrack.
And I was checking because I'm an 80s trivia, a big trivia buff. And so I was like, yes, that song could have been out. Higher Love by Steve Winwood would have been out at that time, or whatever songs, and I was counting them off and saying, okay, yeah.
Well, I can call you out on something here now. Why weren't you doing that with Bohemian Rhapsody?
Explain what you mean.
The songs are all out of order in that movie. They changed the order of things to suit their story.
Okay, the difference for me, Bumblebee had those accentuating the time of it, and it did give you, if you knew when them songs were popular,
sure.
Or it could have been years after that they were popular.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know how to really explain on Bohemian Rhapsody. It's just
sorry, that was putting you on the spot there. Sorry.
No, and that's a fair question. That's a good question. That's why I'm glad you're here with me today to talk about this. But I think those songs totally in Bumblebee just that and I wasn't just going on the nostalgia trip, but this felt like the closest to the original cartoons. And growing up, I will admit,
especially with opening sequence.
Yeah, I am not. Yeah, even the closing sequence when you see the credits, they look reminiscent of the cartoon. And I was not a big fan of the cartoon. I'm not one of those diehard Transformers fans. Yet I understand, and I have some friends that are diehard Transformers fans, and they have suffered through anything, and I think the effects were on point. I think everything about this film was just really nice. It was, and I'm using the word nice, and I mean that it felt wholesome. It felt of that time. And, sure. I felt like I was kind of transported back in time, and it felt relevant, and it worked, the relationship between the boy and the girl there, that almost went somewhere, but you saw like the beginnings of it. It didn't fall into cliches, so that was good, and I was happy with it. Easily my favorite Transformers film, and I hope they continue along this vein, and I think they will. I think they're course correcting the way Marvel has had to do with Star Wars, and I'm not going to go off on that tangent because that's another podcast episode.
Yeah, right.
The next one on my list of honorable mentions is Deadpool 2. I was worried because when this was announced and we knew at the end of the first Deadpool that there would be Cable introduced, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so. And I loved Deadpool, the first Deadpool. I equally loved Deadpool 2 because of Josh Brolin. He was Thanos in Infinity War, and he was Cable. And I'm a big fan of the 90s comics and really the heyday for me of X-Men and for a lot of people. And just how Bumblebee went back to the mid 80s there in connecting with that core of what Transformers was. I felt like they did that with Cable. So, you know, I was very, it worked on so many levels. I can't say that this was necessarily as good as the first one. I may have liked the first Deadpool a little bit better, but I really enjoyed this. And this is one I could watch over and over again. Now, I didn't get to catch, you saw the PG-13 version at Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Saw the Once Upon a Deadpool. And, you know, there's not much difference. They just, you know, they cleaned it up to be PG-13 and they add in a taped to a bed Fred Savage a la Princess Bride, which, you know, was nice. Those little intercut scenes there is the only real difference. I mean, you're just seeing an edited version of an R-rated film, which they're just trying to make more money.
But, you know,
and it was passive. It wasn't. I don't know why they did it. And other than they wanted to make more money. I think it's
a test, a Disney test, to see if they can take R-rated films. Because originally they wanted to make it PG-13, the first Deadpool.
Right,
and Ryan Reynolds, thankfully, was able to stick by his guns, and the creators of Deadpool and all that to get it the R rating it deserved. I mean, that's the kind of anti-hero, whatever that Deadpool is. Just like Logan, you know, if it wasn't for Deadpool being R, Logan would have had less of a chance.
Sure.
A much better film, of course, Oscar worthy in our opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But Deadpool 2, they pulled off Cable just about perfectly. I couldn't have asked for better. So, you know, I'm sorry because of the fact that it couldn't make my top 10, but I thoroughly enjoyed that film, and it's an honorable mention. Another honorable mention is Creed 2. There were moments I got goosebumps when I heard the Rocky theme, but I don't know if I liked it as much as the original Creed.
I certainly didn't. I felt like I'd seen this movie before, so it's pretty low on my list.
But it gets an honorable mention for me. I did enjoy the experience of it. I do want to see the next one, you know, and speaking of long, I notice a lot of these are franchise. Halloween makes my list as an honorable mention. And I actually had a guest on my show, Savannah on Film, Aaron Paderewski, he was the mechanic in the film, and we had kind of a world exclusive there. He appeared after the premiere of it, and we talked about some scenes and talked about some things there. And not just because he was in the film, I was already interested in seeing this film, and I'm not big on horror and all that. I grew up with the Halloween movies. After a while, they got silly. This one had its formula. It was a little
formulaic.
Thank you. But it felt fresh and new, and the empowerment of seeing this being like a direct sequel to the first Halloween. Jamie Lee Curtis, so empowering and so kick-ass.
And you see 3 generations of women come together.
Strong,
the grandma,
this is
the
how
mother
you do
and the
it.
daughter.
This is how you do it. And I know we want to put females in everything, and that's great. That's wonderful. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I want to see more of that. I want, like when Wonder Woman was coming out, I'm like, we need Wonder Woman to work. Patty Jenkins, spectacular job. And, you know, I could go on, but it was really powerful. There's one scene where Jamie Lee Curtis is sitting outside the penitentiary when they're releasing. She begs him not to release Michael Myers. Yeah, I always forget his name. I call him Jason. But she's asking him not to release him, and she does, and she has like this very cathartic, you know, very emotional scene. And she was praised in this film, Jamie Lee Curtis, for her portrayal. And it does have an ending that leads to a sequel that, you know, gosh, she was so close to just ending this all and forever. And it didn't happen. So, you know, I know that part was a little of formula, but Halloween was good. I enjoyed it. Another honorable mention in a film that kind of disturbed me, but I saw it was Chappaquiddick, and I was just I knew the story behind the film, but it was just so well done. It almost felt like it could have been Oscar worthy. It wasn't that great of a film, but very interesting how it was done. It was believable, and it was entertaining, if you can call something so tragic entertaining. And I've got to speed up the pace here, so I'm going to continue. Game Night was so much fun. It almost made my top 10.
It was definitely one of my favorite comedies of the year. I think
mine too.
That and maybe Tag, I think were.
Yeah, I did not see Tag. Tag looked a little too silly compared to this. It was
fun, yeah.
But I'm sure it was fun. And one we kind of agree on, Alpha.
Yeah.
The trailer was out forever, and it was kind of, for me, it was kind of like A Star is Born. The trailer was out so early, and it kept going on and on and on.
And
I thought it was just...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, well, I was going to say, I just thought it would just be an overblown special effects disaster, and I was completely wrong about this film.
Yeah, I think... I actually looked into, I was curious why it took forever to come out, because I remember seeing the preview for it at IMAX, it felt like 2 years before it came out.
Yeah.
And so I looked into it, and there was some sort of controversy about, I can't remember, the production, it was one of the bison or something they sold. Or they bought a dead bison, or I don't know. It was something really bizarre that got got in a hot water with, kind of PETA and all that stuff. So I think that pushed things back a while. But putting that aside,
there was a dog movie, A Dog's Life or something like that had a big PETA issue.
Dog's
last
Purpose,
year.
I think,
something like that.
Yeah,
but for me. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that I think that's what it got pushed back, and it had nothing to do with the
actual
the film itself, and because the film itself is gorgeous. It's
beautiful. Yeah, it is.
Easily some of the best 3D I saw this year. I think maybe only They Shall Not Grow Old was better as far as 3D goes.
I don't know that I got to see it in 3D.
Okay,
and, if it was, we were on the A list from AMC, so. I don't think it was actually showing in 3D at that particular time, but
I think I went to the IMAX and saw that.
I need to get out to the IMAX more on some films.
But my gosh, that was a great film, and as a dog lover, that film hits home. I mean, it's about essentially is the origin story of how man and dog became inseparable. Yeah. So, for me, that's touching, and then you add in the visual effects and everything, and what a great movie.
And so that's just 10 honorable mentions there. Now we get into the meat and bones of it all for me. And
what's number 10, buddy?
Number 10 was a simple. I almost said flavor. A Simple Favor.
Excellent. See, I'm glad that this was in there because it was in my honorable mentions. We couldn't really talk about it much, but yeah.
And it came out. I want to say. I'm trying to think when it came out. I want to say it was earlier.
It was early. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those films that I went in thinking, okay, I got to see 3 movies this week. I'm paying for it, so I'm gonna, the monthly subscription. I'm gonna go see it, and the twists and turns that this film had, it was basically about a lady and Anna Kendrick.
Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively.
Yeah. And she has this little YouTube side. I was interested in the whole technical side of how she's having her little YouTube channel and stuff like that. And I was, looking at the technical aspects of that. And I was engrossed in the story, and it was just a lot of twists and turns I did not see coming.
Yeah, it was a really good adaptation. I believe it was based on a novel.
I'm surprised that it's in my top 10. That until I really went over it, but I appreciate that I did put it in there.
It stands out. It does talk about uniqueness. It's it definitely stands out amongst the crowd. Like when I'm thinking of. Honestly, it's in my top 5 for best costume of the year because you think about the wardrobe of Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively through that whole thing. It's that is memorable. That stands out for me. So I don't know much about fashion. I think I said that before.
Well, apparently you don't. I'm just looking at you.
No, yeah,
and I don't either.
You're right. So, but those are definitely, I remember that about all of Blake Lively's, accoutrements or whatever, and it, I'm glad to see that on your list. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I was very, very excited to have that on there.
Interesting fact about that one too is it's directed by the director of Bridesmaids. I don't know if you realize that, but
I did not realize that. No, so interesting. Now the next one is going to shock the heck out of everybody. Probably my number 9 pick, and some people are going to wonder why it's not higher.
Okay, shock you in that it's lower.
That it's almost at the bottom of my top 10. That tells you. That's saying, for me, not that this was a terrible film. It was one of the best films of this particular company that puts it out. And I'm doing a long preface here. But
what is it, Ed?
It's such an important movie, and one of the best that Marvel has done.
Sure.
Probably next to Loki, if not better than Loki, the best villain, Killmonger.
Yeah,
I'm talking about, obviously, Black Panther. And you're saying, why is it not number 1? No, why is it not number 2? Because there are more films, and this is probably the controversial part of the show. Don't hate me for this, but I enjoyed Black Panther. I watched it probably more than once. I've seen it, on digital over, several times. And it is a very tight movie. It's a very solid movie, very important, culturally important movie. And not being a person of color, I imagine if I were, and I probably can't even imagine to that extent. And I've talked with actors that have been on my radio show about this, and to an extent, and we've talked about it. But for me, it did not transcend the adulation it's getting. I love the adulation it's getting, but I think it did not transcend the superhero genre the way A Dark Knight should have. And it's hard to go back and say, okay, 2008, why didn't A Dark Knight get Best Picture nominee? Why is Black Panther getting Best Picture? And there's people that are going to hate me probably for saying that, but this is my personal point of view, and we're allowed that. So,
and I see where you're coming from there. Like, does it deserve to be nominated for its social impact? Yeah, possibly.
Yes, but as a film, was it a bad film? Not at all. It was a great film. It just, there are other films that affected me more, and maybe it's a personal.
And if we're talking, if we're being logical here too, let's play devil's advocate a little bit here.
Sure,
if we're being logical, what is a better movie? We're just talking dictionary Best Picture when I think of, okay, what is a better movie? And people are going to look at this differently. I think we touched on it earlier. It's like you definitely have different criteria of how you vote.
Right.
But so are you voting on
how well it's made, how well of a film it is, or are you voting social consciousness?
Cut and dry here.
Yeah.
Is Black Panther a better film than Infinity War?
No.
That's where my argument comes in here. Exactly. I agree with you. It's not a better film than Infinity War, but social impact, of course. It's way higher.
Infinity War looks silly next to it on the social impact scale.
Yeah.
Even though Infinity War,
everybody's working together.
Yeah, and some would say, Black Panther was in Infinity War,
Yeah, not much.
But, but in Wakanda, and I'm not taking anything away from Black Panther. Please don't misunderstand that. That's not where I'm coming from. But
I think it's, sorry to interrupt, but I want to kind of support you there, where we're talking about what is personal for us too. It's, it's subjective, but
it is subjective. And, I know people that have seen the film 7-8 times easily. And I don't fault them for that. It's not my business to fault anyone. There is no fault to be had. I like Terminator 2. Mm-hmm. I will defend the Terminator movies, even the bad ones I like.
Even Genesis,
and here's going against the grain and not following everyone. I have a friend who agrees with me on this. Genesis next to T2 is my favorite And I'm surprised I'm saying that. Favorite Terminator movie.
And that just proves everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Until I'm praying, I'm hoping and praying until James Cameron he gets the rights back, and he's gonna pretty much wash out all those other ones and do a direct sequel to Terminator 2, which he said he would never do, but he's got Linda Hamilton, and it's already pegged as possibly being one of the biggest bombs. Schwarzenegger's on board, but I liked what Terminator Genesis did in reinventing itself. Of course, I have a good friend, Anthony, and he said everything good about the film was given away. The fact, if you've seen the film, it was all given away in the trailer. The John Connor part, they should have not shown that in the trailer. Yeah. And there's a really cool little nugget at the end of the film. If you hadn't watched it, you should watch it, and with an open mind. Christian Bale, he was going to get a trilogy with Terminator Salvation. I can still watch that, and there's parts of that. And the gentleman, I can't remember his name, was in Clash of Titans, who played in there as like this kind of hybrid Terminator. I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name now.
Oh, it probably was Jason Clarke.
Jason Clarke? Was it Jason Clarke? Possibly. I can't remember. But anyway, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but that's...
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, sure I do.
I think
it's my podcast. I can do what I want. But anyway, that's my love for Terminator. So I will defend Terminator, and I respect people that would defend Black Panther. I will defend Black Panther. I get it. And I don't want to sound like an apologetic person here, because I'm not apologizing for putting it where I did. I would put it higher if I could tie.
And again, I'm gonna
with other films.
I can't remember if I said this earlier, but I kind of put this in the same boat a little bit with Bohemian Rhapsody, where I enjoyed these films.
There's fighting words.
Well, that's I'm joking. Again, I'm not saying these films are bad.
I know.
I'm saying I've seen 120 films this year, and it doesn't make my top 10. And so they kind of hover there with the best comedies of the year, or or the best, so it's not that it's a bad film, it just doesn't crack my top 10. And I want to say too about Black Panther that I think too people are overlooking, and we made this connection earlier. It's kind of like Avatar, where it is this groundbreaking film, socially important, people are really talking about it. Everybody went to see it, box office records.
Right.
But when you really look at the script, if you're really looking at the script of it, it borrows so heavily from other scripts. It's so similar
and
to...
I said it...
It's so similar.
Can I say it?
No, go for it.
The Lion King.
It is.
And somebody did a side-by-side panel kind of thing with it, on Facebook, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's why we like this. This is basically Black Panther, even though Black Panther was written way before Lion King was, in the comic books, and the wonderful Stan Lee that we lost this year. But Black Panther, it was important that film make it kind of like Wonder Woman was important for the, I don't want to say the women's movement, but our times are changing, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's great, and it's to be applauded. But for me, Black Panther, as socially relevant as it is, and to see an all, cast of people of color is phenomenal. To see, what the storyline is tight. Killmonger, I enjoyed Killmonger better than Black Panther himself.
I can't remember. I believe Michael B. Jordan's like my number 3 or 4 supporting actor of the year.
He did Creed.
To me, he should be up for an Oscar for Black Panther, in my opinion. Like I agree. I agree. Like I think that is an Oscar worthy. Like
his character was written so well that he changed the hero in that film. It's like Heath Ledger's Joker. Batman is as good as his villains, and Batman has the best villains. That's usually why Batman's so good.
So
when done right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I get the nomination. There are Oscar caliber aspects to the film. The costume design is incredible.
Yes.
The production design's great. The cinematography.
Some of the CGI, the fight scene where they're falling, it's still Marvel, it's still Disney, it's still good, but it's
and a lot of
it's
the
a little
stuff,
choppy.
Well,
to
a lot
me.
of the stuff
it's
that
not
they
perfect.
do, I understand it's cheaper to do 3D with like at night, like night scenes, so it's darker. So those are a lot easier and cost effective to do those. And I felt like during Black Panther there was a little too much of that, where there were night scenes where I couldn't tell what was going on. But that's just that could be my eyes.
And for me though, like there wasn't enough superhero-ness about Black Panther, if that makes sense. He wasn't
flying around with a cape.
I don't know. It wasn't enough for me. I wanted more, I guess.
He wasn't talking to the fishes.
and that's not even an honorable mention. But Aquaman,
visual effects on that were great.
Visual effects on Aquaman were incredible. And you saw it in 3D, so I mean,
it was something else.
I think in IMAX, and it was amazing. And, what a surprise there for DC. Good for DC. But talking about Black Panther, it's number 9 in my top 10 for the year, and an exceptional film, exceptional performances. I don't know that it deserved the SAG award or the ensemble. Yeah. I think there are stronger ensemble performances in other films than Black Panther.
Well, that goes back to my point about merit and what are we voting on, because when you're talking about the SAG awards, you're talking about acting. And so are you saying that the best acting by an entire cast was truly Black Panther, when, in my opinion, only Michael B. Jordan gives an Oscar-worthy performance or an award-worthy performance? Right. To me, honestly, Angela Bassett and Forrest Whitaker were a little over the top. It was, and that's not necessarily the fault. The director tells you what to do. But I wasn't sold on the whole cast giving great performances. I thought his sister was great. Letitia Wright, I think's her name. But as a whole, I thought giving them the acting ensemble award was kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
Especially when you have the cast of yes, Vice wasn't that great of a film, but yet the singular performances are pretty incredible. I don't know if that was nominated, but
I think Vice was a horrible film.
It's not a great film. I'm saying the acting.
Yeah.
So what, because the point is of the SAGs, and we're supposed to honor the best acting of the year. So you could argue that the 3 performances, the people in The Favorite, that you cannot and I'm pretty sure The Favorite was up for that award. You can't tell me that the acting in Black Panther is better than the acting in The Favorite. So again, it's where's you got to balance it out a little bit. I'm all for it winning costume and score and production design, and I like the nominations.
Mary Poppins, I would give it a run for its money too.
Right,
though.
I would vote for Mary Poppins, but I'm just saying that if it wins those, it's deserving. It's deserving. Yeah.
But yeah, for the top award, not yet, because honestly, there was Logan should have been nominated.
Right. Yeah, and maybe this is great for the future for more movies like Logan.
It's groundbreaking. It's everything paints a path, and opens a door. Yeah. And I'm glad that this is opening a lot of doors socially, and I'm glad the industry is changing. Yeah. I'm applauding that. I'm applauding all of that. Yeah. But for me, there were some films that touched me on a deeper level than Black Panther did. Yeah. So enough Black Panther. No offense. It's time to move on.
No,
we're getting long on the episode here. Number 8 on my list was Incredibles 2, and
waiting how many years? 15?
I don't even know. But
that's a pretty.
It's been about a decade. We had to sit through Cars 2, Cars 3, all those sequels we didn't need. We were the whole time. A friend of mine, Anthony, and we were like, when is Incredibles 2 coming out? And my wife wasn't as impressed with it, but I loved it. It hit everything that I needed it to. It literally picks up where the other one left off, and it's just a great performance. In the CGI, or animation, holds up so well. It just feels like they literally picked up 10 years later, and you can't tell the difference in the two films. They're that good. It's every bit as good as the original. Maybe the original is a little bit better, kind of like Deadpool versus Deadpool 2.
The original's going to be.
But you know, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and then it ends up at number 8, Incredibles 2, on my top 10 of 2018. Now, number 7 on mine was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and we talked about this, and not much to say that we haven't already said about it. It was an incredible film. It just, it really is going to be, I think it's going to, like you said, be looked back as another groundbreaking type of film, you know? And it really felt like we were in the panels of the comic. And it brought together so many different iterations of Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse, and I thought from day one, this is a mistake. This is just going to be some little cartoon that's going to come and go and whatever. And I was wrong.
I tell you who, like, they're a formidable team now, Lord and Miller. They did the Lego movie, and now they've done.
I love the Lego.
And now they've done this.
Everything is.
They've done some great other things. They did that Last Man on Earth, the TV show with Will Forte. They produce incredibly funny funny productions, and I wasn't expecting this to be. Yes, I knew John Mulaney was in it as Mr. Spider-Ham, but I did not expect it to be funny throughout. It wasn't just Spider-Ham that was funny.
That was a little hokey, the Spider-Ham, or Spider-Pig, or whatever it was. I don't know.
Spider-Ham.
Because I'm thinking of Homer Simpson and
Spider-Pig is on Simpsons. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Plopper.
But
don't get me going on the Simpsons.
It worked. Even the anime, the girl with the robot spider.
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah, everything worked, and it flowed. It was very tight, solid, just... It worked. It filmed just all the way through.
And it will stand the test of time.
And it will stand the test of time. Number 6 on my top 10 for 2018 is The First Man. And a lot of these movies, as we get closer to top, kept shuffling around. And I kept getting angry at myself. You could hear me over here grunting as I was moving these things around my list. I'm like, but do I like this one better? Why do I like this particular film a little bit more? The First Man landing at number 6. It was one of the best films of the year. It should have been nominated. It's Oscar worthy, and a travesty that it's not. No. You know, and that's a shame. It's, you know, I'm sorry, but there's room for Black Panther. There's room for all these other films, but there should have been room for The First Man.
Yeah, the technical achievement of that.
The technical achievement, everything. And we said this earlier. It was a by the numbers film, but it didn't feel by the numbers. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. You felt like you were literally in that ship. And had I seen it in IMAX, I could feel it in the regular film. But if I saw it in IMAX, I probably would have been even more impressed by it. You know, and I love space movies too. You know, and I had no problem with this film. It could have gotten higher if there weren't other ones that were even more thrilling to me. And I rated the next one just a notch higher than yours, but They Shall Not Grow Old was number 5.
Yeah.
And that, I came out of that, and there's a film friend of mine, he does a lot of background work, John Difer, wonderful gentleman, and we were at the theater with the super long line, and you know, bless that one person behind the counter, and it could have easily been 100 people there in line, and the manager came out, and the lines got going, and we had a little problem with the films. You know, the good 5 or 10 minutes right before the colorization kicks in, it was out of focus or something was wrong, a little fuzzy there, but it still worked. And in spite of all that, this film is amazing. The achievement, the dedication of Peter Jackson, the fact that it started off with him speaking about the film and giving you background behind it instead of you just rolling into a black and white film with a weird kind of, you know, aspect ratio than you're used to. And then, you know, rolling into the colorization of it, you know, not having the preface of him at the beginning of the film and then the 30 minutes at the end of the film where he talked about it. I'm surprised I sat there for that. I was like, am I going to sit through all this?
Yeah, but to let you in on the process was so
fascinating.
Yeah, it was. And I think seeing that 30-minute, documentary essentially after it on the behind the scenes probably helps us put this in our top 10 because we got an understanding of the painstaking, like how long it took, all that they had to do to that 100-year-old film while also preserving it.
And I don't want to sound like an old kind of, no offense to anyone, I don't want to sound like an old boring guy and saying, oh yeah, because it's so technical it should win and Black Panther shouldn't be in there. It's not like that. I live in a world where things like that can coexist equally on their merit. But this film is a master class.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what he does. Like, is he going to continue with this? He's got to continue with this technology and keep making films like this. I want to
see him do World War II,
Yeah, right.
I've never been looking forward to a war in my life. But and Peter Jackson is a genius. And I mean, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, not the Hobbit trilogy, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy is one I always point to that I think have so many wonderful tones, even how super long the extended director's cut, whatever, of all of those three films, that is almost probably next to Star Wars in technical achievements. In some ways, it's the number one franchise of all time for me, but I'm still going to stick with the original Star Wars trilogy on that because I'm geeky that way. But Return of the King, it deserved every Oscar. It deserved more Oscars than it was nominated for. It hit on. I know you're shaking your head a little bit there, and I'm overselling it a little bit. But Return of the King, as great as that was, after I came out of this film and seeing the actual soldiers who were stunned by cameras back then, right? They didn't know, in what is this, 1918?
Oh, this is 100 years ago.
Yeah, 100 years ago, yeah. So they're literally looking at the camera and how they painstakingly got the color on the tank, the right color. The grass, he said, was so difficult, getting the different grains of, the different flavors of or colors of the grass, was amazing.
No, I suggest anybody, if it's still playing, like it just got an extended run in the theaters, go see it immediately.
Yeah, I can't say, but yeah, the thing is, and I need to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but on They Shall Not Grow Old, a beautiful title for that because these people won't grow old. Their memories will live on, and now they live on in color, and you see what they saw. And this movie doesn't hold back. It shows you things, graphically. And I'm not a gore hound. I don't like gory stuff, but this was what happened is actual footage. And
they didn't shy away from the atrocities. Absolutely.
And 4 years of your life dedicated to something like this shows a mastery and shows a master at work in his craft. And every film student should be required, whatever film school you come out of, you should be required to watch the entirety of this film and learn. And you will be a better filmmaker, I promise you, in whatever department you are for watching this film. So it ends up as number 5. And now it made me seem like the Lord of the Rings didn't even compare. I came out thinking everything else is garbage in the film industry compared to this. That's how much this film really impacted me. And everything else is not garbage, but still. Now we get on to number 4, and this is where I started interchanging, and I really love this film. The next film, Bohemian Rhapsody. I love the performance by Rami. I always say it wrong. Rami Malek.
I don't know. Malek. I don't know if he knows how to say it.
He does.
I think it's Rami Malek, but
It is Rami Malek, and I apologize for saying that wrong. But I've loved Queen's music. I grew up on it. I wasn't a massive Queen fan. I love like all kinds of music. I really do. And when I first saw the trailers for this, I was hooked. I don't know why. I just said, I can't wait to see this. And it looks so epic. I remember Live Aid. I remember watching that live. I was alive when Live Aid happened, and I watched that. And I saw that Queen performance, and it is one of the greatest performances you can include in that echelon the Super Bowl, which we won't talk about, but Prince's performance at the Super Bowl, is one of the greatest concerts. And that was one of the greatest performances, Freddie Mercury and Queen, and rolling through their hits. And because I knew their stuff, of course, it was easier for me. I just think Mr. Malik did a great transformative job. He was Freddie Mercury, and I think he stayed true to it. And I am super excited when he wins every single award so far that he's won. I don't know if he's going to get Best Actor. You disagree? You think Christian Bale, comparatively?
I think comparatively, there's no contest. I don't think Malik is even in the same ballpark as Bale or Cooper, for that matter, as far as these performances, considering, I know there's something to be said that they wanted to use Mercury's voice, but, Malik is lip syncing the entire time. He's, he's not giving the full performance that I say Cooper did. Like, Cooper's out there singing and they're actually recording them. Now, that's, again, I'm not faulting Malik. These are choices made by the director.
Right.
And to an extent,
and
Brian
he's not
May
a singer. He's
Queen.
Rami Malek. I'm sorry. He is not a singer. So, yeah,
Sure. And I get that. And he does embody his movements and everything. I just thought it borderlined a little on cartoon. And it's again, like, I've got it like probably in the low 30s of my movies this year, which is still good. It's better than a lot of films this year, and I enjoyed it. Believe me, I came out of the theater singing. Like, I mean,
I didn't wait till I got out of theater singing.
But again, to me, it's an enjoyable movie, but it's not Oscar quality in my opinion. It just doesn't make it over that hump because it doesn't go into that emotional depth. Anytime it journeys towards anything complicated with Mercury, it glosses over it, it breezes by it, it says, never mind, we're going to go perform a song now. So to me, it didn't hit hard. It was just like, let's make a 2-hour-long music video that people are going to love, and that's smart. They made money, and I get it. It's a fun movie, and I enjoyed it, but Oscar caliber, sorry, no.
I respectfully disagree. You made valid points. You made very valid points there, but going off of my personal feelings, I love the movie.
No, I get it.
And I'm not ashamed. Just like people that love Black Panther and that know that it's not the epitome of art and film and all that or whatever. They have a special place in their heart, like I usually do for Star Wars, and even when it's bad, it's good, and not that was bad or anything, but I have a special affinity for this movie. I felt pulled towards this movie, and I felt that this movie encapsulated. I don't think you could have done a better representation of Freddie Mercury, and there were some critics that were divided over it, and I understand why. And some of the points that
again, I disagree. It's like we were not let behind the curtain. I wanted a story about this man and what really went on in his head, and like he was a fascinating person. But instead, we got a Queen biopic. We didn't get a Mercury biopic. We got a Queen biopic, which was enjoyable again. But I wanted more.
Okay, fair enough. Number 3 on my list, and I never thought that I would put one of these films in my top 10. I just never thought I would.
I know.
But Mission Impossible Fallout. I know there are haters out there for Tom. I almost said Tom Paris, and he's the one that's on Star Trek Voyager. I was watching reruns of Voyager. But Tom Cruise, this man he's getting up there in his 50s. He's doing his own stunts. The man almost could have died on this film, and I'm scared to death that on the 7 and 8 that's coming, that he will, and I'm scared that I'm going to see it, and I'm not putting any bad feelings out there or anything. I respect Tom Cruise. He is I had a gentleman on my Savannah on Film radio show that worked with him in American Made, and he said that he is such the consummate professional, and going through some film school, we were and I'm not just going on what I was told. I've always been a Tom Cruise fan way back. It's All the Right Moves. That was one of his first films, you know. Yeah, it's of course Top Gun, you know.
Legend.
And it was, yeah, what's that?
Legend.
Oh, you're right, Legend. Yes, yes. So there's a lot of great films that he's made. He can do serious stuff, but my gosh, he does a great job as Ethan Hunt, and this was a nonstop thrill ride. Mission Impossible Fallout, and the last couple films, there was Rogue Nation, what really was kind of for me the second coming of the revitalization of the films. That was the fourth one.
He kept Annie, upping the ante.
Was it Rogue Nation? Which one? It was Rogue Nation, and then number 4, because there's Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3. 4 was Rogue Nation. 5 was...
I thought Ghost Protocol was before Rogue Nation.
It was. Thank you. And I get that wrong. But yeah, Ghost Protocol is, until this film, was my favorite. Rogue Nation was just a little bit under that, you know, but very close. And then this one just blew it out of the water. Fallout was everything and more I could have asked for.
I think that what gets lost here, you know, among the stunts and Tom Cruise, and I can't remember if I mentioned him earlier, I want to make sure we do, is the director of that film. Like, think about just all that went into to putting that together. And his name is Christopher McQuarrie. Right. And I don't know, you know, if people are aware of him, but he directed The Usual Suspects, or wrote it. Well,
one or the other.
I think he
had a part in it.
Yeah, but one of the great movies of all time. But anyway, move forward.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Mission Impossible Fallout, and I'm waiting for the sequel. Take my money, take it now. I'll prepay if I have to. I'll use up my AMC Plus if that's still a thing. I'll use all 3 of them when it comes out opening weekend. I'm there with you, Mr. Cruise. Congratulations to the crew and everyone that made that possible, and for him doing his own stunts, being the smart businessman that he is. And a lot of people don't understand that side of Tom Cruise, and I respect him deeply for that, because he knows how to handle business, and he is still one of the really last bankable international stars that we have, you know, at least in the action world. I mean, The Rock is probably another one, but, you know, he's consistent, and I can't wait to see what he does next. Number 2 and number 1, easily, well, interchangeable. A Quiet Place is number 2 for me. It could have been my number 1 film for a while. It was my number 1 film.
Well, I'm glad in a way, I'm kind of glad it wasn't. So we're not just doing the same thing here. Yes, number 1 for me, number 2.
Now some of the films behind this were much more serious. They were much more technical, and maybe I'm undoing by my number 1 pick coming up. You would think that that's just a cop out, you know, compared to, especially with Black Panther being so far down in the list. You would, when we get to the number 1, you probably would want to argue possibly that, you know, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but for sheer impact, I'll tell you why. But I want to talk about the number 2, A Quiet Place. The use of sound in this, and, you know, or the lack thereof sound, and the quietness in the theater that you talked about, how people respected that, and it felt like the movie Signs. It felt like I didn't know what was going to happen next, and it was so thrilling. And there would be no Bird Box phenomenon of movie on Netflix there without A Quiet Place. It basically is A Quiet Place, but just using sight. And I'm not trying to say they copied it. I'm not trying to throw shade at Bird Box or anybody involved with it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Sandra Bullock, wonderful in it. Wonderful cast, wonderful story. But A Quiet Place did it first, you know. And I just think it was an incredible achievement for a film that will stand the test of time. It should have gotten more accolades for the stars in it and for the film itself, and it's a shame that it hasn't. And A Quiet Place is a brilliant place, and it's a movie that I know I could watch over and over again. Even though I know what's coming up, I still appreciate different things about it. Emily Blunt, amazing performance. Just we've already said all this, so yeah, I'm pretty much running in the ground. But let's get to
all right. Yeah, we leave time for your number one, because I know that when we touched on it in my top 10, we didn't say too much about it because I know this would be pretty high on your list.
And I was shocked that you even had it in your top 10, but that just shows how good of a movie this was.
Yeah, because it changed the game.
And the movie is Avengers Infinity War.
Infinity War, number one for Ed.
I've never been in a film where so many grown men were sniffling. And I was one of them. I had tears rolling down the snap. And then just how it ends, and it just blank screen.
What?
No Marvel movie ever did that.
Forgive me, but I mean, what a ballsy ending! Like
the snap heard around the world.
Like how many? I can't think of any superhero movies that have said, you know what, we're going to have the villain win. And yes, most of us are aware that the story's going to continue.
Right. But and they're all going to come back, and, Endgame is coming, I can't wait.
But still, like, for me, it was like this, when he's sitting there looking at the sunset and he's done what he wanted to do. Thanos, it's like, I actually felt a sense of accomplishment. It was like, I actually kind of was with him. I was like,
this.
This is a great ending.
Yeah. In a weird kind of way. Had he been defeated, it would have cheapened the film.
Sure.
And what they have saved for Endgame, I have no idea. No one does. Yeah. Probably even the people that are acting on it. Mm-hmm. But I can't wait till late April when it comes out. It's I'm going to be storming the theater every day to watch that, and I cannot wait to find out. Yeah. And what's coming is supposedly even bigger.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you top it.
Well, I mean, I think we touched on it before in past podcasts, and you probably have, but this is essentially setting up. I mean, it's in the title.
Right.
This is the final original Avengers movie. So whether they die or not, they may not die. They may just move on. But we're going to
lose our original cast. We're going to. Like Black Panther 2, when it comes out, is going to do phenomenal. I just know it's going to be great.
But there'll be no Cap.
There'll be no Cap. There'll be no Iron Man.
So it's going to be interesting.
There may be no Robert Downey Jr. involved with it. No Chris Evans. He's definitely done. It's going to be interesting to see how they proceed with this. And the Russo brothers, I mean, they have done a tremendous job. And taking 10 years and 18 plus films and somehow overarching storylines that lead to this, even if you're retconning a little bit of it, they still had a general plan for what was going to happen. And
and
that kind of patience.
There's some amazing casualties in Infinity War, as far as like, let's just mention Hawkeye. Let's, stuff like that. But how do you get everybody in? It's tough,
I saw
tall order.
Some of the special features when I bought it on digital, and they talked about, Civil War, Captain America Civil War, which was one of the best.
Yeah.
I would put that up there next to Black Panther. I would say that's one of the top 3 Marvel films.
Yeah.
Could almost be the number 1 Marvel film, Winter Soldier, incredible. And when Civil War, when they got to Civil War is what I meant to say also. Civil War, another strong film. That was a test for, could they bring a lot of heroes together and make it realistic and pull the storylines together. So that was like the preliminary test, and that was such a smashing success.
You're right. That was that was Civil War had the tarmac, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then Ant-Man, the surprise there, and then, of course the Lind, Fox let them use Spider-Man. And so I mean, tremendous, bringing it all together for Infinity War. I couldn't have asked for more in a superhero film, and I watched it so many times. And my wife was actually watching it. It was on her Netflix queue to watch, and she was watching it again. And
Yeah, that was everybody's Christmas gift for people that hadn't seen it.
I know. I mean, you'd have to be under a rock to not hear about Black Panther and not to hear about Infinity War. And Black Panther hit 700 million. We're looking at 678, almost 679 for Infinity War. I mean, box office doesn't. Yeah, domestic. Yeah, when on the international, it was well over a billion, 2 billion. I don't even know. It was ridiculously good, and I can't imagine what Endgame's going to do, but how you top that. But kudos to the whole entire cast, the writers, everybody that worked on it. Masterpiece of a film. And in the long run, is it going to hold up? I think it will. It's one of those movies that holds up.
I think so. I mean, just from the ending alone, I think that just
the impact
solidifies.
That, they went there, and of course, Spider-Man, not Homecoming, Far From Home is coming out with Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and they're not going to really address it. They haven't really addressed how that fits into the timeline.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward,
sense, But when the snap happened, and for me, one of the favorite moments, other than the snap, is Thor finally got his justice and being shown. Right after Ragnarok, they really kind of reinvented Thor to how powerful he really is, and that part where he goes, "Bring me Thanos," and I can play that on a loop, and people have done that on YouTube where they'll have that on a loop for like 40 minutes with fan reactions, and that's the best. Seeing that was just such a wonderful moment, and even after all their efforts, they still lose. It's kind of like Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi will be Endgame, and then they'll pass the torch, and Captain Marvel is going to lead the way. I hope that's a good film, and so there's a lot that we'll be following here on the podcast. And I know this has been a long episode, and but we wanted to bring you, thank you for sticking with us. We wanted to bring you quality.
It's the best of 2018, baby.
Yep. And we've got things coming up. We've got a lot of plans. Emmys are coming up. You're going to be, what did I say?
Emmys.
Oh, they changed it? Oh.
Emmys already happened. Yeah. Oscars coming up at the end of the month. We'll do a preview of that podcast. I'll do some blogs about who I think will win, who I think should win, who I would nominate.
Yeah, and I've touched on a few films that I'm looking forward to. Obviously, Episode 9's coming out this year. I'm scared
looking forward
to death
2019
on how that's going to end. And there are a lot of pivotal films. Toy Story 4 is coming out. I mean, 3 could have ended it for me, but there's so many big films. So we're going to be looking at what's coming forward and some episodes coming up. What to watch out for from a geek perspective. And I hope everybody's enjoyed this. Follow us on Twitter at Geek Homeworld. We're at geekhomeworld.libsyn.com. We're on Facebook. Go ahead, hit that follow button. We got a YouTube channel, Geek Homeworld. Check it out. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Be nice. Don't be mean. No, but I want to hear your opinions. I really honestly do. Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate everybody who's supported the podcast. You can listen to me on Savannah on Film. Same things apply. Facebook. There's Facebook Live every week. And I'm on the radio, and so you can check all that out. And just go to Savannah on Film on Facebook, and you can find out more there, and Instagram and stuff like that. But go to Facebook. It's better to reach me there. So anyway, Geek Homeworld, this is 2018. I know it's February, but better late than never.
No, I think it's good. It gave us time to see the rest of what we needed to see. You can't just do it right on January 1st because there's still some films.
There were still films I hadn't seen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So. Well, thank you, Scott Schreiber, for joining me here. It's always fun to get together with you and an excuse to talk about films and geek out about all this fun stuff.
Yeah, I love doing it.
With all the distractions, the dogs, the car alarms.
I must have sat on my my fob.
was that like a buzzer for me not to drone on?
Yeah, it might have been ulterior motives.
Alrighty, and last but not least, the great Stan Lee we lost in 2018. There's not much more I can say about that, but thank you for creating the wonderful stuff that led to Avengers. All these stories, all these comics.
Being ahead of his time.
So ahead of his time, so progressive.
Showing tolerance.
Black Panther, is just one example of that. And there's so much we're looking forward to this year, and here on the podcast, Geek Homeworld podcast. So anyway, I'm going to close it out. Any final thoughts, Scott?
Oh no, I think we covered it. What a great!
I'm tired. This has been a marathon
Time
session.
for a nap.
Exactly, and this will be up soon on the website and all, and iTunes and everywhere else. So check us out, Geek Homeworld. Thank you. This has been episode 106 with Scott Schreiber and myself, Ed Ciucevich, and check us out. And thank you so much, everybody. And onward and upward. I don't know.
Till next time.
Till next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Geek Homeworld with your host, SavageTechman. You can find us on Libsyn, Google+. Follow and interact with us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on iTunes and leave a review. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Read our thoughts on Blogger. See you again on the Geek Homeworld.